Next on the list, it's a little hard to read, Mary CATHERINE GENNARO, I think. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a physician and I practiced bad handwriting as a kid. My name is Mary CATHERINE GENNARO. I'm a family practitioner, board certified, and thank you so much for letting me come today to testify on behalf of House Bill 5347, banning the use of latex gloves in the food business. I will tell you that as a physician, I do not like regulations. I do not lightly suggest this ban, but as someone who suffers from this life-threatening allergy, I think it is very serious. It's so serious, in fact, that Johns Hopkins University, the birthplace of latex gloves, banned it in 2008, and they actually suggest the number is 6% of the general population, not 1. And if you get the NIOSH alert pamphlet, you will see 1 to 6%. They don't put that on the website, but 1 to 6% general population. The difference between latex gloves and all the other gloves is pretty simple. Latex gloves is organic. It's actually a sap that runs through a tree. And we can be allergic to things like peanuts and sap that run through trees. The sap is then processed and it becomes rubberized, and we have the latex glove. It is a natural allergen because it's organic to at least 6% of us, a minimum of 3 million of us, but 17% of the people in healthcare, dental care, and now food service, which makes it a major work comp issue, which is why so many hospitals kind of jumped on the bandwagon very quickly, as have many EMSs, work comp as much as safety. 60% of children, over 60% with spina bifida, and anybody who's had multiple exposures via surgery has a risk of latex allergy. Now, this latex protein transfers 100% of the time to whatever surface it touches. That's different from any other glove also. So every time, and it doesn't come off for 24 hours, and I can vouch for that. My husband's a surgeon. I was allergic to him every surgery day. Could not get near the man. He had the whole hospital changed for me. But it stays on. So anytime you eat food that's been prepared by someone using latex gloves, you eat latex. We develop this allergy in only one way, exposure. And exposure through mucous membranes is the most direct exposure. Eating latex through our mouth, in our GI tract, is designed just to absorb things, is the best way to expose yourself to latex. So not only do we now have a 17% work comp issue, we are now inoculating our entire population with latex, which is a reason why I think people like my son, who have no risk factors for latex allergy, developed a latex allergy when he was about 12 years old. He grew up eating latex. As we said, many of the larger places have banned it. Arizona, Oregon, and Rhode Island are 3 of the states. California and Hawaii have legislation in process. The FDA states that a safe material on the food code is an article manufactured from or composed of materials that may not reasonably be expected to result directly or indirectly in their becoming a component, remember transfers to, or otherwise affecting the characteristics of any food. I am not allergic to cheese sandwiches. In fact, I love them. But if I go to a restaurant and they serve me a cheese sandwich and they have used latex gloves, just like the doctor before me with his egg salad, it's like spreading a thin film of peanut butter on a peanut allergic. It's a little film of latex, but I can't see it, I can't smell it, I can't taste it, and I'm going to eat that sandwich, and in 20 minutes I'm going to have an anaphylactic reaction, and I will have an anaphylactic reaction. It's not a possible. It has altered. It became a part of my food by transferring onto it, and then altered it from a delightful sandwich to a true poison. And it does that for me and a minimum of 3 million other people. Our numbers are low. I can tell you as a physician, we don't report it. It is the first question, though, we ask if you're going to have surgery. We don't just ask if you have an allergy. We ask if you have a latex allergy. Why? Because it's that dangerous. And there are so many different ways of being exposed. But when you have credible alternatives, non-latex gloves that are cheaper, they're single-use gloves anyway, so how long they last. And if you want a latex glove to last a long time, you better be buying that $12.95 a box. Because the $4 a box latex gloves are flimsy and cheap and highly they're full of a lot of protein. And they are the most highly allergenic. You'll do better with your vinyl, you'll do better with your plastic. My husband does microsurgery with non-latex gloves. If he can do that, you can decorate a cake without a latex glove and you can make a burger. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions? Representative Amon.
You've been very clear about the restaurant industry and et cetera about doing it, but how far back in the food chain would be practical to have this as a requirement? I'm just going to go with the milk, say take the milk industry, are you back to the person milking the cow?
I don't think you have to go back to the person milking the cow, although ideally latex is so toxic to everyone, I think it should be banned, period. But that's not what today is about. You cannot give me a food that's prepared by latex gloves. But I also think practically I cannot go back to see who was your preparer, who did this. If you're going to cook my food, I am usually going to be okay, as long as it has been over 24 hours. But ideally, you should go back to the beginning, because anyone exposed to latex gloves has an increased risk of developing this heinous allergy, and it is truly life-threatening.
On House Bill 5347, an act prohibiting the use of latex gloves at food businesses. Allergic reactions to natural rubber latex are extremely common. It is believed that almost 1% of the population, roughly 3 million people, are impacted with latex allergy. Reactions to natural latex or rubber can range from allergic reactions, which you can imagine could be mild, moderate, and can be severe, life-threatening reactions. Reactions can be delayed, occurring about 48 to 96 hours after the exposure, the delayed reactions. And then, of course, there are the irritant reactions, which can happen many days after the exposure to the natural latex gloves. This afternoon, I'm just going to be focusing on the use of natural latex gloves in restaurants. Currently, 3 states have some form of legislation or the other banning the use of latex gloves in restaurants: Oregon, Arizona, and our own neighboring state, Rhode Island. New York and Massachusetts have some form of legislation in the works, and I'm told other states in our nation are interested as well. There are alternatives to latex gloves. Latex can cause severe life-threatening reactions. So do we have an alternative? And the answer is yes. Nitrile gloves can be used when there's a potential for contamination with body fluids. In that situation, vinyl gloves would be inadequate. However, in the restaurant business, in food handling, vinyl gloves are more than adequate. In my medical practice, nitrile gloves is what I have to use because of the concern about contamination with body fluids. I could not use vinyl gloves in my office. When I evaluate a patient for possible latex allergy, it is a major undertaking in my office. I have to make sure that the staff members are informed so those with latex allergies do not show up on that day or at that particular time. I have to make sure there are notices up in the office in my practice telling that a latex allergy evaluation is underway, so other patients coming into the office are aware that latex is being evaluated on some individual who may be allergic to latex. And the reason for this, as I mentioned earlier, the potential for severe life-threatening reactions that can happen when people are allergic to latex. So in the past, the reason for using latex and latex alone was a very simple one. It was the only gloves available, and when the alternatives came, the costs were prohibitive. But now, I'm glad to inform all of you that the cost of most of these alternatives have become extremely reasonable. and in some cases even better than the latex gloves. The nitrile gloves that I use and anybody uses in a medical practice, now their prices are comparable to latex gloves. And the vinyl gloves that I'm requesting for the restaurants are far less expensive. A box of gloves of latex and nitrile is about $7 for a box of 100. And the good news is vinyl gloves is only $5.50 for a box of 100. You can just imagine in a restaurant, if latex gloves are used, and then you and I go there as their customers, as their clients, informing the restaurant that I'm allergic to latex. And the restaurant is aware of that, is going to cooperate with us and make sure that the food that I eat, the food that you are served because you're allergic to latex, is not contaminated with the latex allergen. Unfortunately, that's not enough. That's not adequate enough if those gloves were used in the preparation of the food for someone else. That preparation, that cross-contamination is adequate, unfortunately, in many a case to cause severe reactions and in some cases life-threatening reactions. In conclusion, from a medical point of view, it is necessary that we use latex gloves in restaurants. From an economical point of view, it behooves us to use vinyl gloves in restaurants, so it is a win-win situation. We do not use latex gloves for the medical reasons because of the possibility of an allergic reaction of anaphylaxis. We do not use latex gloves for economic reasons because vinyl gloves are far less expensive. So we hope that you would consider and make it mandatory that we do not use latex gloves in our restaurants. I want to thank you for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, committee members, for hearing my testimony to support proposed Bill 5347, an act prohibiting the use of latex gloves in food businesses. My name is CAROLYN MIREK, and I serve on the Town Council in South Windsor, and I have a life-threatening latex allergy. I was very active in my profession, even serving as president of the Hartford Dental Hygienists Association. In 2001, I was disabled from my career as a registered dental hygienist due to latex allergy. I also have a permanent partial disability, as I may inadvertently have other exposures to latex. I was forced to fight a 4-year grueling battle culminating in a 6-day federal jury trial and 2 other lawsuits to prove my disability and the cause, which was latex gloves. In January 2012, a federal appeal court found that latex allergy meets the American Disability Act definition of a disability. Who knew that the latex gloves that I wore for protection while treating patients could cause life-threatening anaphylaxis? If I enter a room or business that has latex balloons, I must leave immediately. Latex particles are invisible. I cannot see latex toxins in the air or on the food. I'm going to give you my first and my most recent examples of allergy reactions. In 2001, my family was having lunch at an amusement park here in Connecticut. After one bite of a sandwich, my eye swelled shut and I could not breathe. I saw the box of latex gloves, and I knew I was sensitive to latex gloves, but no one ever told me that anaphylaxis could occur from somebody touching my food with latex gloves. I had been eating latex without my knowledge, and it could kill me. According to the American Latex Association, latex gloves are dangerous in food preparation since proteins shed from the gloves onto the food. Eating food contaminated with latex proteins can cause anaphylactic shock and possible death in sensitive individuals. I always carry a emergency packet with inhaler, epinephrine, Benadryl, just in case, and cards printed allergy alert. A lot of people think that because I have an EpiPen, I'm good to go. Well, if you use an EpiPen, that means a trip to the hospital. As recent as this past July, I had my most severe reaction, and I thought I was going to die. It was so severe, I was treated emergently at the scene, put on oxygen, and immediately transported to St. Francis Hospital. How many people have latex allergy? The number of people are underreported. A lot of people don't know they have it. I had a latex allergy looking back for probably many years before it culminated to the point of diagnosis. They say, and that amount is growing. They're saying between 1 and possibly up to 6% of the population has latex allergy, according to NIOSH Alert. As a comparison, 1% has peanut allergy, and everybody knows about that. In fact, all medical facilities ask if patients have a latex allergy. It's that common and that severe. Oregon, Rhode Island, and Arizona banned latex from restaurants. A restaurant in Manchester, Connecticut recently went latex-free because one of their cooks developed latex allergy. Your own cafeteria here at the LOB is latex-free. The manager said it was his company's policy to protect the public. Other chains such as Subway, Chipotle, and Bonefish Grill do the same. I sell gloves for my dental supply company, and latex gloves are more expensive now than other kinds. So why would anybody choose the more expensive, life-threatening type? Latex is proven to transfer and stick to food, glasses, and plates for 24 hours. Latex protein becomes a hidden food allergen. Latex particles from gloves, rubber cooking utensils, and balloons become airborne and inhaled. Workers in food service are often unaware of the latex risk and potentially deadly consequences. Many professionals wear latex gloves today, many more than did before, such as food service, hairstylists, daycare workers, repairmen, and janitors. And now they are experiencing a wave of newly developed latex allergies like the healthcare workers experienced since the 1980s. The Food Safety Manual, the Food Safe Handler, states, provide workers with non-latex gloves because latex gloves might cause a reaction in some workers. Our own Connecticut Department of Public Health website has a section titled Food Protection. This article provides a link to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that since 1997 states, non-latex gloves are recommended for tasks such as food preparation, routine housekeeping, and maintenance that are not likely to involve contacts with infection material such as blood. Shouldn't the state of Connecticut abide by the CDC, especially if they list it as a reference? Less expensive, safer alternatives to latex gloves are available. The risk of exposure to this hidden toxin being served to unsuspecting diners, as well as those preparing the food, can be eliminated. Latex allergies are real and preventable. Reduce the incidences of increased latex exposure, allergic reactions, workers' comp claims, lost wages, and disability claims. Let's follow the CDC guidelines on our State of Connecticut Food Protection website. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope you'll support this proposed bill.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Any questions? Representative Amon.
Thank you, Carolyn, for coming in and making me aware of this last summer, that the severe problems that you were having. I think one of the more interesting things that you talked to me about was in the restaurant industry, the number of people who have left restaurants and accused them of having food poisoning, and really it was a latex allergy. Can you talk about some of the less severe reactions that people have as more commonly to latex?
Yes. Some of the reactions I've had, in fact, we were together at one event where I had called ahead before attending to see if they would be using latex gloves, and was assured that they weren't. I got there and I asked again, and they said I was okay. They weren't using gloves that day. And I had one cocktail meatball. Shortly after, I started asking everybody in the room, is it hot in here? Aren't you feeling hot? And, it was a lot of people, so I just thought it was warm. And then I started getting other symptoms. I started turning red. I started having a little bit of difficulty breathing. And then I felt an urgent need. I had to leave because of nausea. And so the next day I did call back that restaurant, and they said, no, we didn't use them. And I said, I'll hold on the line. Could you please check with your chef? And she said, well, we only use it for the raw bar, and there was no raw bar. She came back to the phone and said, oh, yeah, the chef used them. So in spite of diligence, sometimes it's hard if those gloves are still there that anybody, can use. But thank you.
As a glove salesperson, which is probably one of the more unique occupations.
Well, dental supplies and equipment.
There's been discussion of several different types of gloves. Can you just go quickly through some of them that are available to the industry that they could pick from, since we've been basically saying latex and vinyl, and I think both of them are more generic type terms?
Yeah, latex is natural rubber-based gloves, and the price of those gloves have escalated over time. The more common ones are vinyl, that are used, the typical food handler gloves that you see here in your LOB. There's also, as Dr. SRINIVASAN mentioned, nitrile gloves, which are more form-fitting, which we use in medicine and dentistry. And there's also a whole wave of other latex-free gloves that are coming out, neoprene, chloroprene, other synthetic forms.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming forward and letting us know what the problems are.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Representative Rivero.
Well, you're only supposed to wear the gloves. They're called disposable. So you're supposed to only use them for a very limited time. And that's another issue with food service, is that some people think it's a false sense of security that, I've got gloves on. So you still have to change them regularly because you're going to touch, the counter or touch money. So they're changing over pretty regularly. So I'm not sure how to answer how they last as long, because they're not supposed to be on too long.
Because, being a former business owner, I'm always reluctant to pass any bill that's going to cost the business person extra money. But in this case here, when the vinyl costs less than the latex, it almost sounds to me like a no-brainer that we don't pass something like this that could help save someone's life. I mean, if you were talking about it was going to be 3 or 4 times the cost and so forth, I might say, well, can the businesses afford it? But on the other hand, it's going to be cheaper for them, and we know from your testimony and the doctor's testimony that it could save someone's life and a lot of pain. And so I can't see any reason at all, Mr. Chairman, why a bill like this wouldn't sail right through and give the help to people like yourself that they need. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that with there are so many different types of gloves that are less expensive, that are better protection, and that there is more education that needs to be out there, because the first thing when I go into a restaurant or I call ahead is, I have a life-threatening latex allergy. I need to find out whether or not you use latex gloves. And many times the first response I get is, oh, yeah, we use gloves. We use latex. They think they're all latex. It's like a misnomer that all gloves are latex.
Any other questions? Representative Orange.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming in today. I find this to be very interesting. since your allergy